Welcome to New Independence Network, our newest update for today. Thank you for listening. So, the new mantra. See, now the left have been talking about how guns are dangerous, and they talked about banning guns for the longest time. Banning guns. They realize that gets them nowhere. So they're trying different tactics. Now they're trying to go after the NRA. The NRA are criminal. The NRA are violent, support violence, and they want to destroy society, and they support murder. And the politicians are in the pockets of the NRA, and they won't get rid of guns because of the NRA's financial influence. Okay, let's look at some numbers. The NRA donated in the last 20 years, $200 million in donations in the last 20 years. The unions who are supposed to be unbiased, but we know they're all Democrat money laundering organizations, the unions have donated $1.7 billion in the last year. In 2016, in that year, they donated $1.7 billion. So who has the influence? The unions, where people are forced to pay money. They're forced into unions at their jobs. They're forced to pay union dues. And those union dues go to political donations to help support Democrat politicians, even if the people who are in the union do not agree with Democrat politics. Doesn't matter. They are forced to pay that money. NRA, it's a membership. You can sign up if you want to sign up. It's totally on you, and it's based off of donations. You become a member of the NRA, and then they donate, and they donate to support the Second Amendment, which exists currently. That's the job of the NRA, support the Second Amendment. And, of course, to teach about gun safety and responsible use. But it's very easy for the left to categorize the NRA as a hate organization because they are the ones who know the hate organizations all too well since they created them all. The Democrats, racist Van Jones from CNN, pundit at CNN, racist Van Jones. Racist Van Jones said that the NRA is the equivalent to the KKK today for these young people. Again, back to the young people, because we have to use the young people now. That's the new group. We discussed that in yesterday's podcast that we posted earlier today. Recorded that late in the evening. Sorry I got up today, but it was a quick turnaround type of thing, and we got it to you. They love to use the youth. That's what they're doing now. Use the youth. Brainwash those poorly formed logic centers of the youth. Transform them to be our automatons, our robots. And they can spew our talking points because no one can say no to the children. So racist Van Jones associates the NRA with the KKK. That's interesting because who created the KKK? The Democrats did. How about that? The Democrats invented the KKK because they did not support desegregation. Amazing. And who created the Black Panthers? Well, those are Democrats. And the Black Panthers are a hate organization. And who created Black Lives Matter, another hate organization? Well, those are Democrats. How about that? So I guess the Democrats, since they're so used to creating hate organizations, pretty much assume that everybody is creating a hate organization. And it's very easy for them to brand an organization like the NRA as such, even though it's not. But the unions, well, how did the unions come to prominence? Let me think. There wasn't any gang involvement, was there? There was no violence and strong arming and mob ties. No, I don't think Jimmy Hoffa was a mobster. Oh, wait, he was a main proponent of the unions? Oh, well, silly me. Who'd have thought that? It's not like the unions were a quote-unquote hate organization, were they? Because, violence, strong arming, blackmail, corruption. No, that's just Democrat politics, if you stop to think about it. So, the Democrats are trying to label the NRA. They love to push labels. It's funny, for a political party who hates labels. You can't label me, you're racist. They love to throw them around. Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Muslim Americans, the LGBTQ, WTF Americans. Now it's the young Americans, the rich, the poor. They're constantly doling out labels all the time. This is what the Democrats do. They reek of hypocrisy all the time. And for those of you, if you're Democrats listening to this, which I don't think many of you are, but you should, think about the hypocrisy that you associate yourself with. You've attached yourself to an organization of people who say one thing and do another, who accuse people of being a certain way while they're that way themselves. They say they want unity and equality, yet they're constantly dividing everybody, and you don't get equality. The minute you offer real equal treatment to any of those subgroups that the Democrats love to latch on to, they're going to cry, you can't do that to them because you're treating them unfairly and you're being racist. A woman can't be treated that way in the workplace because, but men are treated the same way. Oh, but she's a woman. But wait a minute, you want equality. So which one do you want? Do you want them to be equal and treated like everybody else? Or do you want them to have special treatment because they're a woman? You can't have both, but they want both because they're hypocrites. So, NRAs being labeled, they're all about labeling groups, but then there's the new push. You see, that's not getting them, the NRA is one way, it's getting them somewhere. They're trying to get it somewhere. It's not going to. It's just not going to. It's going to burn out. Again, emotion versus logic. Emotion starts the engine. Logic drives the train. It's going to burn out. And they're going to run out of fire when the emotion dies down and people will move on with their lives and turn to other things. We have to be very, very careful as Republicans not to fall into the trap. I hear that President Trump is seriously considering raising the age of owning firearms, to owning rifles. You have to be 21. However, you can only be 18 and serve in the military. And as a former military soldier officer, I find that a little bit hypocritical as well. How can you be 21 to own a gun and shoot a gun, but then going to the military at 18 and be expected and trained to own a gun and shoot a gun? Just putting that out there. If you want to raise the age of owning firearms, then you have to raise the age of the selective service, that only 21 years old and up can join the military. What about voting? If you are 21 and only 21 to own a gun, see, they lowered the voting age. The purpose of lowering the voting age was because people could serve. Well, if a person can serve, the voting age used to be 21. And if a young person can serve in the military, this was the argument they made, the primary basis behind the lowering of the voting age. If a young person can serve in the military at 18 years old, then they should be allowed to vote. Okay, that's fair. So they lowered the voting age to 18. Now you're saying, well, for them to be able to own a firearm, they have to be 21. Well, then shouldn't you raise the voting age to 21? Because how can they vote against or for politicians or policy that involve and can affect the Second Amendment of the Constitution when they themselves cannot experience that Second Amendment because they cannot own guns? Think about that. So if President Trump wants to raise the ownership to 21, then he has to raise the age of everything to 21. Selective service, 21 years old. Joining the military, 21 years old. Being an adult, 21 years old. Legally, you can no longer be an adult at 18. You're going to have to be 21 because then you have to be able to vote at 21 and only adults can vote. Children aren't allowed to vote. The way some of these millennials act, I wouldn't be surprised that you do raise that. It would make more sense because, honestly, these millennials don't have a clue. They don't even know how to work hard. They're so lazy and spoiled by their parents, it's absolutely ludicrous. But I digress. So now we're going to go back to the point. We're going to go back to the original point regarding the tactics of the Democrats. So they tried banning all guns. They've tried that for, you can't have guns, we have to get rid of them altogether. That failed. They've tried that every time. So they say they don't want to ban guns, but they do want to ban guns. That's their end game. That's their ultimate objective. Hillary Clinton even said that she wants a confiscation, an Australia-style confiscation of guns. So that's it. If left to their own devices and if given the opportunity, the left will continue to go after guns. And believe me, the shootings will continue. The shootings will continue until guns are banned. What are you saying? What I'm saying is the left will ensure that the shootings will continue until guns are banned entirely. They want us to move the needle little by little by little. And they're going to keep changing their argument and crafting their argument and recrafting their argument. And every single time they recraft their argument or change their approach in the attempt to have us move the needle just a little bit, then another shooting will come up later on. By chance, mark my words, there'll be another shooting at some point. And they're going to say, you see, what you did didn't work. We need to do this. And they're going to move the needle some more. And then the bleeding hearts will go, oh, I guess we have to listen. Poor us. Oh, for the children or for whatever the cause is this time. Next, it's going to be a daycare center. That's their end game. I mean, you know what? If you keep going back and they keep killing younger and younger people. We tried it with Sandy Hook with grade schoolers and we realized that was a false flag. That was revealed as a false flag. So people say, oh, no, it's a false flag. It was a training mission. They had a lot of inaccuracies on that one. So it wasn't accurate. I don't believe Sandy Hook for one iota. And notice they don't really mention it. They kind of, in passing, they do. Because it's a buzzword. So they tried that. It didn't work. So they said, let's go with high schoolers. Because high schoolers can speak out. We can use them. And then what they're going to do is, if they keep getting younger and younger each time, to tug on the heartstrings so they can dance on the graves of younger and younger people who are killed, well, eventually they're going to get back to abortion, which they're all for. They're killing 3,000 kids a day via abortion in the womb, so guns is a minor pimple on the butt of that. It's a blip on the radar. But they won't touch that. So, I digress. They're going to keep working and doing whatever they can to ban guns. And if we relent and move and change and add new regulations, then they're going to say, well, see, more shootings happened. You didn't do enough. So we're going to add more changes. So right now, Donald Trump is saying to 21-year-old to get the permit to have a rifle. And we're going to ban bump stocks. And we're going to increase background checks. Okay, so we're going to move the needle in those three areas. Okay? Then there's going to be another shooting. The left will make sure there is one. Then what? Well, we got to move the needle some more because what you did didn't work. So we keep moving the needle. That's the objective, to ban guns. But on the way to banning guns, they're going to keep crafting their argument. The left will keep changing what they're saying. And the newest mantra that I'm seeing bandied about on the web by the Bleeding Hearts, here's the newest one. It's too easy to get guns. We have to stop them. We have to keep people. They're trying to craft it and say, we have to make it harder for people to get guns. Well, harder for people to get guns, meaning you want to put restrictions on them so people don't get them. Okay. Well, when was the last time, let me think back in history, when was the last time that the federal government put a restriction on something because they deemed it dangerous for the public and the public were not responsible enough to handle it? Let me think. When was that? The last time there was an overall ban. Oh, let me see. Here in the Encyclopedia Britannica, since we want to go, they like settled science, the left. So let's go with a settled, scholarly, scientific approach to this. Prohibition from the year 1920 to 1933. Written, quote, Prohibition, legal prevention of the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages in the United States from 1920 to 1933 under the terms of the 18th Amendment. That, for all of you millennials who don't know history, who aren't taught real history in the classrooms, because you're not, this is what happened in history. There was a thing called Prohibition. They banned alcohol. Yes, the alcohol that you millennials or you high school kids down on a regular basis because you're cool. Moms and dads don't care that the kids are drinking like crazy, that 16, 17, 15-year-olds are drinking and getting plowed and getting alcohol poisoning. They don't care about that, but we got to ban guns. You guys are killing yourselves. Kill yourselves in silence, but don't kill yourselves out in the public. Buy your friends booze and get trashed and kill each other, but don't worry about the big guns, because they'll really kill you. But anyway, Prohibition, history, 1920 to 1933. Again, under the terms of the 18th Amendment. So what was the 18th Amendment? Well, the 18th Amendment, a quote, emerged from the organized efforts of the temperance movement and anti-saloon league. Anti-saloon league sounds quite similar to the anti-gun organizations, which attributed to alcohol virtually all of society's ills and led campaigns at the local, state, and national levels to combat its manufacture, sale, distribution, and consumption. That sounds incredibly familiar to something that's happening right now. The manufacture, sale, distribution, and consumption. This is what the left is trying to do with guns. Now, what happened during Prohibition? What happened? Did everyone stop drinking altogether? Was alcohol gone for good? Well, not really, because although the temperance movement, it continues, although the temperance movement, which was widely supported, had succeeded in bringing about this legislation, millions of Americans were willing to drink liquor illegally, which gave rise to bootlegging, quote-unquote, the illegal production and sale of liquor, and speakeasies, illegal secretive drinking establishments, both of which were capitalized upon by organized crime. How about that? So millions of Americans found a way to drink. They found a way to get booze. They made their own booze in many cases or bought it from the black market. People who were benefiting from the sale of booze, even though it was illegal. And who were those people? Predominantly spearheaded by organized crime. Organized or not organized, crime is crime. Do you really think the black market arms dealers in this world are not salivating at the prospect of a weapons ban in the United States of America? You don't think they benefit from that tremendously in the other countries where it has been executed? The criminals will always find a way to get guns. Those who want guns, like the millions of Americans who just had to have booze anyway, will find a way to get guns, either through the black market or they'll make them themselves. It's never going to work because it's been tried with alcohol, and all you do is increase the demand for the booze. And what happened with the government? Well, As a result, the Prohibition era also is remembered as a period of gangsterism, characterized by competition and violent turf battles between criminal gangs. Have you watched The Untouchables? Did you watch Boardwalk Empire? It was a free-for-all. It was a war. You really don't think that the criminals who can get guns aren't going to get guns? It's going to be a bloodbath. You think shooting is bad now? Imagine if nobody has a gun, except for the criminals. The only people who have the guns are the police, right? Police and the military. Well, I always like this analogy. I may have said it before, but I'm going to say it again. You're in your house. You're upstairs. You're asleep down the hall, and your kids are asleep in their rooms down the hall. A criminal breaks into your house, and this criminal has a gun. You're going to call the police to come save you. Do you think that the police will be there in time to stop this criminal from walking upstairs and killing you and your children? If you think that, you're wrong. No. The criminal will get upstairs and kill your children and you and be gone before the police get there, because your standard police response, in many cases they say 5 to 8 minutes, is wrong. You know and I know. The people who live in the real world realize it takes 20 to 30 minutes for a cop to show up at your house. It just does. I'm not besmirching the cops, just it's the way it is. It's a broken system. I mean, look at it. They had a sheriff at the school in Florida. They had law enforcement there. And what did the sheriff do? He stayed in his car, did not go into the school for 4 minutes. And the shooting was 6 minutes long. For 4 minutes, he stayed in his car, didn't go into the school. He could have stopped the shooter. That's his job. People say, well, you put yourself in that situation, you'd be scared too. Yes, but my job is not to stop a shooter. That's what the sheriff's department and police are trained to do. That's their job. Stop criminals. So he cowered, he chickened out. And they were going to suspend him, and he quit instead. He resigned. So he took another coward's way out. He's a coward in both ways. When you're a coward, you're a coward. So that answers one of the questions from the earlier broadcast we had. Where was the security guard? People said he was in the office. No, he didn't even go into the school while the shooting happened. Interestingly enough, he just stayed there. Did he stay there for a reason? Was he just specifically a coward? Or was he told to stay there? You got to ask that question. You have to ask it. I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. I'm just got to ask the question. Why would a cop suddenly say, I'm not going to go in? Unless told, well, stand down. Because it's happened before. I'm just saying, just putting it out there. Just putting it out there for you to ponder. Chew on that a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, you can't count on law enforcement either. What if you live out in the sticks, in the middle of nowhere, and the situation happens to you? Because a lot of people live in the suburbs, and the police can get there at a relatively decent time. Or live in New York City. It takes forever for cops to get there because of traffic and all the other activity that's going on. But if you live out in the sticks, the cops aren't going to make it in time. So you definitely need to have something to protect your home with. Are you going to stop a person with a gun if you have a knife or a baseball bat? No. No, you're not. So any talk of restriction, which is code word for banning the weapons altogether, makes no sense and will accomplish nothing but what happened with Prohibition. But wait, let's go forward in time. There's something else that was killing a lot of people that was banned in the United States of America. Now, what exactly was banned in the United States of America that was killing people, that is illegal, that people shouldn't have in the first place? What is that? I want to think something along the lines of illegal drugs. Maybe illegal drugs? Oh, but people get illegal drugs. How do they do that? How do they get illegal drugs if they're illegal? they find a way to get them. But how do they get into this country if they're illegal? Criminals bring them in. I'm saying this nice and slow for the millennials and the empty-headed to grasp it, to hold on and say, maybe that makes a little bit of sense. You mean drugs are illegal and people get them? It's illegal for kids to have booze, but you find a way to get booze, don't you? If you're under 21, you can't go into a store and buy booze, yet you find a way to get it. How is that possible? Oh, your friend got it for you? My friend's not a criminal. He broke the law by buying you booze. Even if he's of age and buys you booze, he just broke the law because you're not supposed to supply alcohol to minors. If your parents gave you booze, guess what? They broke the law because you're not supposed to provide alcohol to minors, and they are therefore a criminal. How about that? You see how that works? There's no way out of it. There's absolutely no way to win. You cannot ban guns and think that's going to solve the problem. You can't even put more restrictions on them because no matter how many restrictions, people are going to find a way to break the rules. The drinking age used to be 18 years old in the United States. It was changed to 21. Kids still found booze. They got booze at 18. They got booze at 20 before they're 21. It's still happening. You can make the drinking age 30. And they're still going to find a way to get booze. You can make every drug banned, which they did, except for pot in some ridiculous states, and they're going to find a way to get drugs. It's just how it happens. Now, how many people were killed by drug overdoses? Well, in the year 2015, which is the most recent number that I have right now, there were 52,404 drug overdoses in the United States in 1 year. 52,404. How many homicides in a year occurred in the United States in the past year? 13,000. What? 1/5 of the deaths in this country, 1/5 of them compared to drugs were committed by guns? 52,000 to 13,000? 40,000 fewer people were killed by guns than by drugs? But I thought drugs were illegal and you couldn't get your hand on drugs. But somehow 52,404 people are dead from illegal drugs that no one can get their hands on. I didn't even check the alcohol numbers. Check those. I'm curious. I mean, 17 people die a day with cell phones, but cell phones aren't illegal. We're talking illegal substances here. Illegal substances, cell phones, driving while texting, cell phone related accidents. Cell phones aren't illegal yet. But drugs are. Yet people still get them. And people still die from them. But then they say, alcohol is illegal, but people still get it and people still die from it. Didn't a young man from Penn State just die from binge drinking in college? Wasn't that the case? Was he 19? 19 years old? How is he able to drink booze if he's 19 years old? I thought it was illegal. He should not have been able to get it, nor should any of his classmates, or give it to him because that's illegal too. But then they say, well, we're not trying to ban guns. We're just trying to make it harder for them to get them. It's really easy to buy a gun. You hear that argument, right? It's very easy to buy a gun. It's simple. I could get a gun. It's really simple. Is it? Well, the next time you go on the street corner in Camden, New Jersey, or some drug-infested part of the country, and you're able to walk up to a dealer and buy a gun and a dime bag of bullets, talk to me how easy it is to get a gun. Because tomorrow I can go down to Camden, find a drug dealer, and buy drugs if I wanted to. Tomorrow. Today. I could leave right now and go find a place to buy drugs. I'm just using Camden as an example because it's rat infested. It's a mess. And there are a lot of drug dealers there. East St. Louis. L.A. Whatever. Tomorrow, today, right now. I can leave, walk back, come back, and report to you that I bought drugs if I wanted to. I just bought drugs in Camden, I could say. That easy. How about getting a gun? No. 24-hour waiting period, background checks, fingerprint. I tried to get a handgun. It took me weeks. At least 4 to 6 weeks. Buying the gun was easy. The background checks were hard. Background check, fingerprint check, references. They had to call friends of mine to make sure that I'm not crazy. Getting a gun is not as easy as they make it out to be. So when it's as easy to get a gun as it is to get drugs or booze, even though booze isn't illegal unless you're underage, if it's an underage kid can get booze much easier than they can get a gun. An underage kid can get cigarettes, which are illegal under a certain age, then they can get a gun. They get them easier than they can get a gun. But the day you can get a gun easier than you can go buy drugs, then we'll start talking about how easy it is. Until that time, you have no case. All it is an attempt for confiscation. They'll say over and over, we don't want banning of guns. We don't. And that's what happens is they're preying on the emotion of the rational ones. So a person online say, I am a gun owner, but I just think it should be more difficult for people to get guns. Well, now you're bending to their whim. And we're back to the original point. What more do you need? It's all an excuse. It's all to try to move the needle, to push you with emotion, push you into their argument of banning guns. That's the end game, folks. The left want to ban guns, period. And they will not rest. And the killings will continue by the left, quote unquote, until they have a gun ban. Mark my words, and we have to fight against that. Okay, that's our update for today. Thank you very much for listening, and you have yourselves a wonderful day.